if you don't already have Google Analytics implemented into your site, which just means copying some HTML code or some code from Google Analytics to then paste into a draft of your homepage, then let's just quickly go over that. So I am actually already signed into my Google Analytics account, which is, equivalent to whatever your Gmail or Google account is. Let me zoom in a bit here too. Okay. So that would be the first step. If you don't already have a Google Analytics account where you see this as a Google product, then you would sign into your Google or Gmail account. You could do that at gmail.com or google.com, or even at analytics.google.com, because that's where we're at now. Once you sign in, like I said, if you don't already have a Google Analytics account, Google will ask you to set that up from that first step after you've signed in. And so if that is your case, I want to pop over to what your screen would initially look like. So you would actually be starting off on the Create Account page here. So rather than starting off on the dashboard, the home page, as I did, because I have existing accounts and properties under my Google Analytics. But if I am starting off as a brand new user to the Analytics product, then I would be dropped off here to set up a brand new account. So the account name is usually like the business name. You could just put your league name here, which probably makes the most sense for all of us. And I probably have multiple of these. Let me just call that demo again. So I'm working with my demo site. So that's why I just called it demo site. The account data sharing settings, I usually just leave them as is because they're just recommended by Google. You can add or remove as you see fit. And then we're going to go to next. It might be helpful. I do have a couple of images. Let's see if I can pull those up. Because we have within our Google Analytics account, we have what we just created was the account. And so we have a kind of a double up of terms there, which is a little confusing. And then within that account, we have the property. Let me see if I can find those images for us. Since I do have a bit of a breakdown. Here we go. So when we talk about the Google Analytics account, we can kind of just refer to it as the Google Analytics. That is the program or the product that Google is allowing us to use. And then within that, we're able to create different accounts. And these accounts can be, if you're following different traffic, maybe let's say you have a personal blog, that might be another website or another account, excuse me. When it comes to what we're doing for the league, it makes sense that you may only have one account within your Google Analytics. Let's see, I do have another image that goes a little deeper than that one. Whoops. Okay, so continuing on with that example of my company and my personal website, the properties would then go down to maybe the actual different tech or digital things that you're following. So again, for us, we may only have one property per that one account, being that we're probably only following our MyLO website. But if you had a different website, maybe for that was outside of your MyLO website, if it was just for members or anything like that, if you happen to have an app. And then below property, we get to then specify different views. We'll get into that a little bit. It really is just showing you different filtered out views of your data. And so you get to specify the filters, and we'll get back to creating the property. So second step is the property setup. Being that now the new what would you call it? The new property measurement type for Google is Google Analytics 4. By default, it's going to push you to create that type. But we are working currently still with Universal Analytics. So that's going to be found under Show Advanced Property or Options. We need to enable the little switch to the right, and we can disregard the warning. We do have this for sure on the high priority, on our high priority list for work to be done, since we know that that cutoff date for data collection is July. So that is coming up this year, but we are working to try and figure out the work to be done to get all of us over to the new side. So we've gone down to Show Advanced Property or Options, and we enable to create a Universal Analytics property. The website URL I can just steal from here since I already have it open. And I'm just copying it without the protocol, which is the HTTPS, just so that I don't have to remove it there. But make sure that you remove that portion since you're specifying it here. And then down here, since we are just working with the Create Universal Analytics or Universal Analytics, I'm just going to do that for now to create that one solely. When we are moving to Google Analytics 4, we will have some more sessions like this. And then at that point, we can create brand new ones. So there we go. Okay, sorry. I was down at the bottom and the next button is grayed out. So I knew I was missing something. I forgot to name the property. So now this is going to be kind of one step deeper than the account. So the account I named demo site, the property name I can call demo site, or let's say MyLO demo site. So it's specifying exactly which site within my league, being that my league is titled demo site. A little confusing there. Okay, I can go to next. And then the third step of this is the business information. Help us tailor your experience by answering the following. The first is the industry category. This is going to, it's not going to affect how your data is collected or anything like that. The only time that I personally have seen this used was in the benchmark reporting. So it just kind of helps you to compare yourself against other, let's say, if we choose news, then we get to see how we compare against others in that same news industry category. We've in the many Google Analytics demos we've done, I've never found one that felt like exactly like what we do. So you take a look at those, and I think you may still be able to go back and change things. I'm not entirely sure. But again, it's not going to affect how your data is collected or your reports. Yes.
Yeah, so make sure. So when you had to name the property and you named it MyLO demo site, ours, what we would put would just be our league chapter site. Would that be?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure I can do it right away. Okay. Thanks.
For sure. Yeah. As long as it is clear enough to you, because if for some reason you have another site that you're managing alongside your MyLO site, you just want to make sure that the names of those properties are distinct enough for you to know the differences there. Good question though. And then business size, again, I don't think that this one is affecting any reporting, as I saw like the industry category being in the benchmarking reporting. But again, these are probably more helpful to Google than to us here. And then how do you intend to use Google Analytics? This is just going to help Google figure out how their customers are using their product. I'm just randomly choosing stuff, but definitely choose as many as you need. And we create. So we just need to accept the terms. And I do believe we have that those kinds of things that are in the agreement. We have them on our privacy policy since the cookies are going to collect some anonymous data from these users. Okay, so I get spit out to the tracking code kind of admin page for this property. Since I already have one connected, I'm not actually going to connect this one, but we're going to go through the steps as if I were trying to do that. So my first step will be to copy everything here. We just copy that entire, what we call the global site tag. I'm coming back to my home page, and I need to start a new draft or edit the draft if you have one. And there's a specific location for this under the advanced settings. So let's scroll down to advanced settings, and here I have mine already added. And so let's see if I can actually put a second one just so we can see what it does there. So I have, there we go, Google tag and Google tag. Hopefully that doesn't mess anything up. You should probably only be, using one. But just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to see if that gives us the effect I'm looking for. So I'm going to publish my change to make sure that it is set through to Google. Let me actually save it. And when I come back over to my Google Analytics, it may take a page refresh possibly, but usually the status, if that did take, and like I said, it may be interfering with the other global site tag I have. But in any case, there we go. Once you implement a global site tag, you are going to usually get an immediate response there under the status. So that lets you know if you plugged it in correctly. Then we can go back. Like I said, I'm going to work with one that I already set up, since this one will have a little bit more data than the one we just plugged in right now. So if you do that by implementing the Google Analytics, which we call the global site tag, into your MyLO site, it's going to take maybe, I think, 24 up to 48 hours to really start collecting all kinds of report data. We saw that, you know, there was an immediate response of seeing that I myself was on the website when I first implemented that demo tag that we did right now. And that's a good sign and tells us that Google is collecting so far real-time traffic, but they need a little bit more time to collect the rest. So let's familiarize ourselves a little bit with the dashboard here too, like everything that comes with it. So once you create your first property and account, and you add that global site tag to your site, then you're kind of dropped off here. This is the admin screen or tab, I guess. So this gives you your different accounts that you have within your Google Analytics. Within that account that you have selected, it gives you the properties and then the views. We were talking about views when we look at the image, and this really helps you to filter out any known traffic that, for example, if you are excluding any of your webmasters, you could exclude them by IP address, kind of like how I did here for the testing view. And so when it comes to this kind of tinkering, I guess, with the different views, I've heard from several sources that it's recommended to have at least 3 different views. I myself have just been working with the raw data, which is all of the website data, which is definitely what you want to keep unfiltered in case, a different view that you have filtered doesn't pan out how you want it to. You can always start back at the raw version or the raw view and then create a new filtered one from there. And then the testing, that is so that you can just play around with it. That is as far as I have gotten with my views. But then the third recommended view is to have your main view. I will show off so we have one for MyLO. We have our MyLO reporting view. I just wanted to show off the filters that we have. Let's see. Since this is kind of our main view, we've excluded, being that it is our previous developer teams, we've excluded that type of traffic to try and get a better picture at just the users. So that's just an idea of what it could look like for your different views. But again, it is not, it's recommended, but it's not like you need to work in that way. So if you were just working with your initial view of all website data, which is the raw data, that I believe is totally fine to work with. Any questions so far? I think I can go ahead and jump into the report a bit.
I have a question. If I'm working, updating the website, and I do multiple drafts, but I publish some of them, do those get picked up by Google Analytics, or is that because of caching that doesn't really show up?
It won't pick up different versions of a page. It's usually just going off of a URL. So drafts or different revisions won't affect our Google Analytics counts that we're seeing here.
Those are actually perceived as different URLs?
No. Revisions are still within the same URL.
Okay. So if I'm testing and I refresh, I each time I actually save it as a published one, I'm displaying it. Isn't that like an accessing the URL?
When
But it
you
keeps
go
the
to the
same URL.
page, you are getting a page view there. You are accessing the site, so you are being counted within the traffic to your site. But when it comes to you clicking new draft and making changes, that may be part of your session, being that you are on the page for a prolonged amount of time, but Google Analytics is not going to automatically tell us that. I'm not sure if I'm getting at the meat of your question.
Well, I just don't want to get, because I tend to publish a lot of drafts. I'm trying to get away from that, but I don't want it to be counted like 10 times because I've done that.
No, so when you click publish, it's not going to count that. Just being on the page, yes, that may be counted, and your session may be counted, being that you're on it for a longer amount of time. But again, if you wanted to filter yourself out, then you can add a filter, and based on, let's see, exclude by IP address or ISP domain, those are going to help us narrow down to ourselves or to the individual. So you can go that route and exclude yourself, whoever else is on your team, and that will give you a separate view at what it may look like excluding webmasters.
If I'm setting my IP address, when you're using Wi-Fi, don't you get different IP addresses, sort of?
Yeah.
So how do you set that if you use Wi-Fi to a particular IP address?
That one is where I'm not entirely sure, being that they only have very few ones here. Let's see if custom. Yeah, I searched to this earlier, and the one that I found to be about a user was the IP address. We do have additional stuff, but again, it's not more specific. It might catch more people than we're looking for. But I can definitely look more into that.
Okay, well, I believe if you could, that'd be great. Thanks. Let's move on because I don't want to hold things up.
And then Jan, I think your hand was up next, and then Mary Jo, and then Leslie.
Okay, so my question was, I thought I saw you say set a filter that excluded admins. Is that admins on the domain or admins in MyLO, or what is that?
I was referring to the IP address. So using your admin's IP address would be the way.
Yeah, that doesn't work because we all kind of refresh our IP address every time we log on. So
yeah, I'm going to need to look into that for the views. But for now, we can talk about the raw data. So Mary Jo.
Well, yeah, I was just asking about that too, because, you know, I look at our statistics and they're pretty high sometimes. And I think, wait a minute, how much of this is me fooling around with it? But I will wait for your answer.
Yeah, I definitely need to do some more research on that since it seems like their default options are very limited. Leslie.
Yeah, I have on a slightly different thing. When you're looking at this, you're right now on something that says admin. There's also the option for user.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, there are a couple of us that do our MyLO site, and I started it, but somebody else has kind of taken it over, and we didn't start doing Google Analytics until after Kathy took it over, and I think she's the one that set it up. So and when I go in and look at Google Analytics, because I do get the notifications from them about, you know, traffic over the last month, and then I click to look at the reports, I don't know that I'm seeing admin information. Am I using the user? Am I just seeing it as a user? I'm not sure how Kathy set it up, but I don't think that both of us are in there as admins, and we might be. But in other words, is there a significant difference between what I'm going to see?
That I'm not sure of, like, depending on your role within this account.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I have access to the actual reports pages and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I don't know what my role is and how I would find out. So
Let's see. Okay, Google does give us a little description. So let me go back and do this a little more slowly. So I'm at the admin tab, and under the account, I am going to account access management. And you'll probably see yourself only if you haven't done this already. So when we add users, it looks like these different roles have different data restrictions.
Yeah. I mean, I may just be on viewer. I don't know how Kathy set it up. I'll ask her, but
Okay.
I was seeing stuff on the admin screen and whatever that I either hadn't gone and looked for, or it had never popped up for me. So
I see. Yeah, that could be why
Right.
you're having limited options there.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Jan.
I notice sometimes when I run my analytics, I have some months I have this huge on one day, all from China or somewhere else in the world. I've got a huge bump of somebody hitting our website, and they hit it like a lot at a time, and it really throws off my analytic count. And I like to exclude that kind of stuff. Is there a way to say only count, you know, Orange County?
I do believe
traffic.
So. Let's see, as far as, I think it might be the custom. Yeah, so the filter field, let's see, maybe location or country. There we go. So under location, you can choose the filter field country. And filter pattern. I believe it's either going to be CH or just the entire name. Let's try each. Let's see, include, no, sorry. It is going to be exclude country China, and The filter verification helps us here to know if we set it up properly. Oops. So exclude traffic from China. So that's the filter name that we'll see in our list. The filter pattern, I believe that that is what it's looking for in the data. Let's try and verify. The filter would not have changed either that filter is incorrect or set. So let me try it maybe with our MyLO site. Since if Orange County is getting that traffic, MyLO is definitely getting that traffic. So let me try this again. Okay. So I know we already have some filters there, but again, let me. Oh, it is only allowing me to create 5 filters. I did not know that before for one view. So sorry, I'm going to try this with one of the existing views. Okay, sorry. No, we already have a lot. Well, it would have been the exact same setup, but I'm just having trouble finding one where I can actually add it to. There we go. Okay, let's just try it with this one here. Oh no. So it may not be as easy here for my MyLO one. But Jan, if you wanted to set that up live, we can do that. It's much harder for me to show it since the verifying or the verification of it, it was saying that it wasn't working. But we can go through the steps. It's just not going to have the same result as it may have on your reports. So I'm creating.
Okay.
I'm creating a new filter, just the same as we were doing before. We are excluding those from the country of China. And again, if we verify it, we're not going to see the result that we're expecting. I wonder if that gives us any different. Again, okay.
There was a suggestion from Nancy to just include the United States.
You definitely can. Yeah, that would be easier if you're getting traffic from other countries as well.
Russia.
Yeah.
So then you would just do the opposite. Again, I'm not entirely sure if it is the word spelled out. And I am not able to tell immediately if that works or not. There we go. US. So it looks like the abbreviation is the one to go with. So we can see that I can filter down my data to just show me US traffic. So
But that error message you got was not, it was just saying you don't have enough data for that to happen, but eventually you may, like the person who's having issues with having these spikes. So I don't think that it was bad that they just said you don't have any yet, you know?
right. No, it wasn't that it was bad. It's just the effect of that filter was going to not be visible.
Right now, but it could in the future.
Well, me working with the demo site, I'm pretty sure that I won't see too much Chinese or Russian traffic.
Right, but she can still use that method for the one where she has lots of China spikes.
Right. Yeah. And so that's why I said that that was going to be recommended for her. So I'll go ahead and save that. I saw that Lynette, you had your hand up. I don't know if you still had a question. Deborah.
Yeah, you answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Deborah?
Yeah.
Deborah, did you have a question?
I do. So on your filters that you're excluding, you had 5 things that you were excluding. Are those items that we should be excluding as well? Or was that just in your demo site?
That was actually in our MyLO one. And you don't have to worry about those. These are
So like that
actually,
Beacon Fire and.
yeah, all of those.
Okay.
Those are like different web developer companies that we were either working with previously or we were like getting bids with to work with. So they were traveling our site quite a bit.
See.
But now, yeah, you don't have to worry about that. But I definitely want to get some better information about excluding, filtering out admin in an easier way. But I can go ahead. Yeah, Liz.
Maddie did you get Maddie's question? She
I did not, sorry.
doesn't have any audio, so her question's in the chat.
I currently have Google Analytics on our website and we get email with stats, but when I try to sign in and it asks me to create an account. Okay, so it sounds like you may have a similar situation to how Leslie had, where she's being added to somebody else's Google Analytics account. So it would be similar to if I added folks to my own. Where did we see that there? I think it was, oh, here, account access management. So for this one here, being that it is the lwv.org domain, I don't have ownership of this one. So I get to see that I can remove myself, but I don't have the administrator role to have that access to manage the user's permissions. So if you know who manages your Google Analytics account, Maddie, just ask them to either set you up as an administrator or any other role than like a higher role than you currently have. And I can show that off if you need. But Liz, you have a question?
Right now I have my Google Analytics set up through my Google account, and we're thinking of making more Google accounts sort of generic, based on the office.
Mm-hmm.
Do people have accounts for Google Analytics where it's just a sort of a generic league account rather than an actual person? Because it seems to be popular to set up all these Google accounts. I use GoDaddy and Forward, but we're thinking of going and having, treasurer at gmail. Treasurer Wheaton at gmail.com and ones like that. And you could have webmaster, or you could have
And that would make
analytics.
sense.
Yeah. Do people do that?
I have seen leagues do that. If you don't have, especially if you don't have the way to do it through your domain provider or any other free way to create alias emails, making Gmails like that is probably the next best option. Does anybody have?
Is it legal? I mean,
Yeah.
I know people do it, but
I don't know what could be any legal ramifications. Does anybody want to speak to that if they have any experience doing that? Yeah, Jan.
Yeah, we have, we use Google Domains as our domain provider, and they give you 100, they call them virtual accounts, and we have them named like webmaster and president and vice president and treasurer. So we can redirect those to real people's accounts. So it's a redirection. So the mail goes into Google and then it gets directed to somebody's real account. And that kind of keeps it anonymous for, it goes more with the office than with the person.
Mm-hmm.
well, I do that with GoDaddy, but what I'm asking is, can you then use that account? See, that you can't use it, but what if you went and made 5 different Google accounts with with these generic names you're using, and people just log on because they know that there's a password to go with that? Can we use that for Google Analytics?
Yeah, you have to have a real person's ID behind it, I believe. But
Yeah,
we do have that. We have a real one that is just League of Women Voters Orange Coast, but it goes to somebody, and it has to go to somebody, and if they leave the league, we lose that email account.
As far as the Gmail one?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah. It's
Oh.
it's a Gmail, but it's Orange Coast, but it's behind that is her.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and we actually had this happen is our vice president moved out of the area, and she had, everything was attached to her, and we had a mess.
Yeah,
So,
we,
Wow.
Jan, we use a similar setup in that we have the LWVlee@gmail, and I, as the Vice President of Public Relations Communications, I've got the password, and you know, you have to, for continuity, transition. And then we also use what you described, we call just vanity forwarding emails, where for each function, president, treasurer, membership, we don't release personal emails in our because you just never know in this environment, but it gets forwarded and we test it every time a function changes.
So Eileen could use the first one she described, which is an actual Gmail account that you log into. She could
Yeah.
use it for Google Analytics.
Yeah, because I use that for Google Docs, G Drive, LWVlee@gmail. Yeah,
And
yeah.
now you can use it for Google Analytics.
exactly. Yeah, which I haven't done yet, but with this instruction, I will.
Yeah, so if you are creating a Google account, as Jen and Eileen were saying, it does have to be attached to a real inbox, whether you create a Gmail yourself or you attach your current email address to your Google account. So you have the option of either when you're creating an individual account.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then Mary Jo.
So we do have Google Analytics set up, and one person gives that information to the board. But do you think I'd be able to go into analytics.google.com and find those statistics myself, or does she have to create or like give me permission to do that?
She may have to give you permission to do that.
Okay.
I think that, let's see, what is my role here under LWB? It doesn't tell me what my own permissions are. I know that I'm not an administrator, but so if it is whoever has access, the admin access to the analytics, they would come to account access management, and you're probably already listed. So I think you can view, and you probably would be able to edit. Since I'm the owner, I can't edit myself, but I think that.
Yeah, I just want to be viewer, I think.
Yeah, so
Well,
at
no,
least
yeah.
when it comes to a viewer, you would see the report data. You wouldn't be able to create any dashboards. We're not going to be going over that, but anything further, then you'd have editing and control access.
Okay, thank you.
Oops, don't save. Okay. I think we're caught up with questions. We can go on to some of these reports. So some of you who have requested reports, you've probably received what ends up being data like on your page views and a kind of a breakdown of the pages or the kind of partial URLs that were used to get there or where they landed essentially. I am going to pull up, let's start with actually the acquisition here. So acquisition just refers to how we obtained our users and from where. For all of these report categories, I think all of them have an overview. So you get kind of an initial bird's eye view look into this kind of data. When it comes to the overviews, I usually just skip them. Some of them are helpful. But usually the reports that you're diving down into below the overview are usually more detailed, more helpful. So we're going to first look at the channels report under all traffic within acquisitions. My data is a little sad here. Let's maybe swap back to the MyLO one, just so that we actually have some numbers to look at other than like 8. Okay, there we go. So by default, kind of the layout of every report, it starts out with, you have segments up here, which are either the users, the sources. It just kind of helps you to chunk up the initial kind of groups of data. And so I'm just going to start off with, just all users as they provide us. Then below that, we have a representation of the data over time. You get to specify the time range up in the top right corner. If you wanted to compare, you can always add on, and let's just take a look at that. And then we come down to the table here. On the left, the different rows, we call those the dimensions. So the dimensions help us, kind of like the segments, it helps us group up the data in different values. So as we go across these different reports, we're going to see how those dimensions differ. But then across, when it comes to the columns, those are the metrics. So the metrics help us see some quantitative data about our dimensions. So, or about all of the traffic. So when it comes to the channels report here, by default, the primary dimension is the default channel grouping. We get to see the different, they're technically not the sources, they're the channels. So exactly how did the user get over to your site? An organic search would be something through Google, through Yahoo. Direct, they are usually just typing in your address, your website URL directly. If let's say the channel is unknown to Google, usually that data is going to get thrown into the direct numbers as well. Yeah, referral, social, email, paid search. Display is, I believe, when your links are within like other articles, like if there's an ad, an image that links to your site, I believe that's what the display is there. And then other, I believe, is either not set or they weren't able to distinguish. So you can also dive in to further look into what the actual sources are. Or actually, no, it looks like these are the keywords, which is probably even better. Oh, you can change it to source as well. So you can see again what is being used as we dive into this. The source, you can change that primary dimension to see what or which service they used within that organic search category. So we see there's quite a few different ones. You can also add a secondary dimension. So I get to see the source, but let's see, I want to also see the keywords per each source. That is usually going to give me like the top that we were just seeing, the top keywords we were just seeing. Might be a lot of data that it's trying to pull together. There we go. Okay. So unfortunately, a lot of them are not provided, not set, but we see some of this traffic. And one thing to note too, I'm always forgetting that the rows by default show up as just 10. You can extend which number of rows to choose or to view at a time, or just page through. But we see that we have the different source, we have the keyword, and then on the columns to the right, I have to scroll back up to see, we have different categories here of acquisition, behavior, and then what we don't get to see because I'm zoomed in a little too much are the conversions. The conversions we're not going to be talking about in this session. I'm going to try to focus the talk on goals and events in our next session, because those are two very powerful things in Google that will help you kind of see a fuller picture. Right now, when we look at the Google Analytics data that we're provided, it is a lot about the page interaction. So when somebody clicks on a URL, when they get to that page, when they leave that page, if they went to one page and the next page and the next page, that's what we're seeing. We aren't yet getting into what they do on those specific pages. So if we're trying to see that they are clicking on something specific, that's going to be for events. So we're going to talk about that next session. Let's see. So when it comes to the channels, it is helpful to know not only the source, but the keywords. If you are able to see those actual keywords, whether, you know, we're seeing a lot of not provided or not set, but you might see a lot of that, and it might persuade you to create maybe a page on Civics, or you might have just more overall content about Civics across your site. Oh, and then as we kind of click into different levels, so far we clicked into the organic search dimension, and then that broke it down to each type of organic search, and it then, or we then also added a secondary dimension of keyword. If we want to go back up the ladder, I just have to scroll back up here and click all. So as you keep clicking into any of these dimensions here, it's just going to keep adding to that ladder up there, which I think are known as breadcrumbs. So if we can look at Facebook and see, okay, it doesn't let us go any further, but we get to compare. Since I have the date ranges set to compare, that is the reason why we're seeing two different data sets underneath that Facebook. I'm gonna go ahead and just remove that compare to simplify our data.
Marisol, this is really fabulous. I haven't been on Google Analytics, but you start to see how it gives you feedback on the site. When you said if it's a keyword, then you can add that, and that'll bump up your search engine optimization.
Yeah, really simple things to boost your site for sure. Any questions about the channels report, or if you wanted to see something specific on this report?
Well, this is Mary Jo.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to do it in a minute. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this, but right away. Okay, so I saw, I think, two things about Civics. Does that mean that one person typed in Civics? I mean, what does it mean?
It means that there were, being that we have these acquisition things here, or the metrics, this metric of sessions, and let's see if I can actually go back to it. That sessions metric is going to tell us the total number of sessions that included whatever criteria we have on the left. So yeah, let's just,
Well, where did that list come from?
So I came from, I clicked on organic search.
Yeah.
And then it broke it down by keyword.
Uh-huh.
Whoops. let's go back to the,
So this is basically saying that when somebody typed in what is civics into Google, that it came up with a bunch of links and somebody chose the league link from Google at that point, right?
right, exactly. Sorry, I clicked on something and I swapped up my report. So I'm gonna go back and go through those same steps. So I click on organic search. And then there we go. I'm taken to this list. By default, the primary dimension is set to keyword. So all of those organics, all the data from the organic search entries, we are seeing all that data broken down now by keywords. Most of them are not provided, but we do get some insight into what folks are searching for to then end up at our site. So let's just take one of the first ones. If I click through to this one, to civics. Okay, so it tells me that the number of sessions is 134. Out of the total number of sessions, it's pretty much nothing because we have a total number of 2.9 million. So
So 134 people typed in civics?
and ended up on a
Right.
MyLO site.
And
But there
130 of
there
those
were other civics
Right.
mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, if we added those all together, then we have probably at least 500 of what I saw, possibly more.
Right.
But
130 of those 134 were new users, by the way.
yeah, and that's pretty good, being that, you know, this number of sessions may, when we're just looking at this solely and comparing it to our number of total sessions, it's very insignificant. But like Leslie said, if we're looking at it compared to our new users, 0.01 is almost insignificant, but this is a really nice number, being that 130 of those 134 were new users. So that's not bad at all. And then the other cool thing about Google Analytics, whoops, if you click or hover over the question marks or over any of these term names, I think it gives you, no. Usually when you have this question mark, that's when it's going to give you a definition of that term. I do have a
So
link.
somebody was asking about bounce rate, so you could hover over bounce rate.
Oh, yeah. So the percentage of single page sessions in which there was no interaction with the page. And it's usually a 0-second duration. And so let's go back up this little ladder. I'm going to go back to organics, or actually let's go to all and let's check out a different channel. You can get lost in, and this is just one report. I could spend so much time here. I feel that social and referral are probably the next two super interesting ones. When it comes to direct, it really is probably just going to show you that folks are typing in your address. Yeah, so rather than there being a search to get here, folks are just typing in my.lwv/Wisconsin to get there. And so that may be helpful too. It'll tell you that folks are typing in to get to your homepage, or they're typing in to get to your voting page, but you're going to see exactly how they got there by clicking on direct, or exactly where they landed to by clicking on direct. Let's take a look at referral. Well, that's surprising. Classroom.google is, seems like our top. onYourBallot.vote411.org makes sense that that's one of our top ones as well. And then as you click through to each one, as we were seeing before, you're kind of going down the ladder. And with this one here, this dimension is the referral path. So this referral path is coming from that, that original referrer. So that source was classroom.google.com. So these will show us where they are leaving from to get to our site. If we then want to see where they're landing to from there, we add a secondary dimension of landing page. And so we get to see not only where they come from on that other site, whoops, but where they're landing to for your own site. This article has done so well from the Torrance Area League. It is about news source, or how reliable is your news source and understanding media bias. They're doing an awesome job. They have a lot of referrals is one of those, is one of the reasons why they have such high traffic on this page. And so we get to see that the / usually is just referring to that home page. So that just means classroom.google.com /. So that usually is equivalent to the home page. And as we go on, like I said, we're just seeing the page from its origin, from where folks are clicking away from. I'm not seeing anything different, but yeah, it would go on. We have about 86 pages here, and it would go on to specify exactly which pages are leading to our sites. Let's see. When it comes to, trying to think of what other secondary dimension would be helpful. No, I think we can leave that for now. I don't know that one off the top of my head. I know for sure the landing page is definitely helpful there. Let's look at maybe the social data. Any questions so far? Okay, I just want to see if,
Maurice,
yeah.
I noticed that a couple of your listings on the search were traffic bots. Do we need to worry about that or anything, or if we see something like that?
I don't think you have to worry. I think it is just the part of being on the internet. We do have securities in place so that if ever there were something to be worried of, or a risk of something, we have those securities in place. I can let our team know just to kind of discuss it with them, but I'm sure that it is just, we get spam emails and things like that. Like, it is just the law of the land, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
thanks.
I will take note, and I'm going to take a minute too to look at the chat. Sorry, I've been ignoring that. Let me take a look. Maddie says, I set up GA with our league Gmail account. I tried to sign into it and then open analytics, but it keeps using. Okay. Oh, okay, awesome. It looks like it was just a different Gmail account there. So that's great. How do we get the grid? So I'm assuming this grid is what you're talking about. I have just scrolled down. I'm at the channels report here. So on my left-hand side, under acquisition, I opened up all traffic and then channels. And most every report is set up in this similar way, where you have the segment kind of information up here. You have the date range stuff. Then here we have a plotting of the data table that we find down below. So when it comes to the data that's first plotted, it's by default just the sessions, and it's just showing you a complete look at all of the sessions together. If I wanted to just plot what my Facebook traffic looks like, let's say compared to my Twitter traffic, we can just plot a few or all rows. I think if I make my time range a little smaller, it'll be easier to see. So let's just set that to like 5 days. Okay, so we get a comparison. The blue still remains as the sessions, and then we get an addition of the orange for Facebook and the green for Twitter. And you can do this as far as plotting the rows for any of your reports as well. So getting to compare them side by side visually is nice, even though we have the numbers here as well. Any questions about the metrics here? You know, there's sessions.
Yes, I have one.
Yeah.
Just to verify, a session is viewing a page or being on the website totally?
So a session is the period of time a user is actually engaged with your website.
Right, but if they jump from page to page, is that one session and they've jumped to 5 pages?
Sessions are usually about 30 minutes. Or if there has been no interaction for 30 minutes, that's the end of a session. So it can vary. A session can vary depending on their engagement. But a session can include screen views, which is they looked at a screen and they may have exited, but that would still be counted as a session. So
then why does average session duration say 3.09? It sounds very short. Looking at the Facebook there.
yeah, it is not wild to see just a few seconds for this session duration. I have seen that across others. When it comes to certain ones, we do see higher, but it really just gives you some insight into how certain users are behaving on your site.
Okay.
Yeah. Mary Jo.
Well, I'm looking at a page that our person sent to the board. And on the top, it says page title and screen class. And then it's got views, users, views per user. And it gives me a total of 7,000. And I can't believe that 7,000 people or, you know, looked at our website. But anyway, then it gets down to specific pages like Michigan ballot issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says Dearborn Heights, MyLO. I mean, I guess that's just at the, I don't know, the beginning of our.
That's probably your homepage.
Yeah, the homepage. Then there's a couple that just say MyLO. I'm not quite sure what that means. But at any rate, so where did she get this report? Or do you even know what I'm talking about?
I kind of do. I was reviewing the kinds of reports earlier today, and it sounds somewhat familiar. Okay, I think I know.
No,
what you're
that's one
talking
of the
about.
reports that we use every so often because the board wants to know how the website's doing in terms of traffic on various articles we
Right.
put up.
Right.
Let's jump to that. We'll get back to acquisition later. That's going to be under behavior and site content. And then we just go to all pages. So again, it's under behavior. And actually, would it be all pages? So it's under behavior, it's under site content. Now I'm drawing a blank as to which exactly it is. I think it may be content drill down.
It's one of the reports that shows up when you go to the basic, the initial page, if they just send you to your Google Analytics page and they offer you all different kinds of reports. That is one of them that's right there on the front usually.
Let's see. Because it has to do with.
I haven't looked for it in that side menu. It just always shows up for me.
Here we go.
Yeah. What
So
page?
pages do your users visit?
Right, that one.
Awesome. Yeah, let's
Get
just
the
do the
pages
last 7
report.
days.
And that's probably the pages report is probably what
Oh yeah, it is exactly the same.
Mary Jo was seeing. Right.
So it is going to be under behavior, site content, all pages. So that's the same report that I believe you were pulling up. And then rather than looking at the primary dimension as page title is probably what you had set there. You'll notice that you might have some that just say MyLO and then have a vertical bar, or start with the vertical bar and say MyLO. These here, number 4, those are usually going to be our like the default calendar, the default articles, action alerts, positions. Those pages, we call them views, and not to be confused with the Google Analytics views, but it's kind of like a feed, just like a news feed works, where content is added. That's what our views do, and they technically don't have a page title because they are not a page. So that's where we see some data coming up in this way. So Mary Jo, to differentiate your data, that's probably what is coming up. It's, visits to your calendar, or articles, or action alerts, positions. That's going to show up here.
Thank you.
As far as, I'm not sure if you had any other question about that data.
Yeah, this looks similar. And thank you.
Yeah, and then in case anybody, page views is the total number of pages viewed. So repeated views of a single page are counted. And then unique page views is just not counting doubles. Susan. I see your hand is raised.
Oh, yeah, that was for the question I asked. I didn't take my hand down.
Oh, okay, no worries. Okay, so yeah, this is another one that is very helpful to see where folks are getting the most use out of your site. The landing pages is going to tell us where they're entering our site. And kind of the same information that we were seeing before for the channels report, we're seeing here for acquisition and behavior. And then the exit pages are where folks are leaving your site. And the percentage of exits, being that it's the number of exits divided by the number of page views, it indicates how often users exit from that page or set of pages when they view your site. It says when they view the pages. And with all of these reports, we can do what we had done before, plot rows. If we want to see specific pages up against each other, we can compare different time ranges. We can add a segment. I haven't played around with this just yet. Mobile and tablet traffic. We can compare that against all of our traffic so that we can see many of our exits are coming from desktop users. And you can see the same kind of breakdown within the table, since we have all users as one segment and then mobile and tablet traffic as another segment. I do believe you can also create your own segment, like custom segment. Let's see if we can. Yeah, we can. So this is just asking how you want to group up your data. It is going to be things about the user, like the demographics and location, things about the device that is being used, the behavior of that user. It kind of includes the data of the first session, and then where they're coming from. So you can segment data or add segments so that you can have a different look into it. It's almost similar to how we were working with the views and filters, but the segments are not going to be permanent. They're not a permanent filter on your view. They're just a lens to look into your reports with. Any questions about these? I can probably also go over content drill down. Any questions so far about the site content reports? Okay, so the content drill down is helpful in our sites, being that our sites are set up hierarchically. So we see that everyone's site kind of starts off the same. We all have my.lwv.org / and then that's where they start to change for each of us. We have our state name, and then it's followed by our local league name. And then every other page within our site follows this same pattern, so that the about page, that just gets tacked on to the end of our URL there. So with that, it's helpful to then see, I'm going to swap back to my demo. So we get to see the content drill down essentially. So for all of you, you may see your own state here. It's not going to open up more than just my own site under California, but it does that so that it can include any variation I have. I know that I have a couple of pages. I changed my MyLO site name, the homepage name at one point, and it looks like a couple pages stuck with that county variation that I had before. So that's helpful because then we aren't losing any traffic here just based on it not being our original or official name at this point. With the first one at the top, being that it doesn't have a /, that tells us it's the homepage or our own homepage. So we've gotten 54 page views to that in the last week, I believe that's what it is. And then we can continue to drill down. And this thing, the dimension here is helpful to tell us that we've gone down once. So we're on level 2. I'm going to go down one more time to demo site, and now we'll be at page path level 3. So we see that most of these don't have an ending /. So that means that there isn't more to drill down past that. And what also helps us is this little icon. This little icon represents a web page, and this little icon represents, it is still a web page, but it's representing that there is further within that URL. So article, I know that I have multiple articles within my site, but it looks like I don't have too much traffic data. Oh, I actually only have this one. But that's perfect because then I'm able to see the actual articles that are within my site within this content drill down. If your site has a bunch, then you're going to see them all here. And as you keep drilling down, you can, just as you drill down, you can go back. So I'm just going to click back to, let's see, demo site. And so this is kind of just a different way of traveling your content too. It's very, all of the content that you're seeing under content drill down, you're going to see under all pages. Content drill down is just a different way of traveling this data. Any questions?
No,
Okay.
but that's very interesting. I mean, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a bit to just keep looking at. Oh, look at that. It did save a draft here.
It'd be
I'll have
nice
to
to
look
look at
into
it.
that.
It'd be nice to look at a real, you know, one of our members here at their site, because a demo site's kind of anomalous, right? It's not really representative of what the rest of.
I'll pull up our LA view
Oh, thanks.
for
It
sure.
isn't what we've been seeing, all of this, the
I
whole of
have
the
been-
United States.
I have been swapping back and forth
Yeah.
between my demo, which is very little data, but then I have been swapping back to the main MyLO account as well. But
Which is all of us, right?
Correct. Yeah, so let's look at it through the Los Angeles lens here then. For the content drill down, let's kind of do a similar thing. Awesome. So they just have the one variation of their homepage URL. Yeah, awesome. They have a lot of articles. Oh, I was just basing off the page views, but that's nice. They have 68 page views on just their March primary election. And so I'm not sure if we wanted to see anything more on the content drill down.
How do we print a report?
Oh, yay, good question. So you have different ways to save it or share it. You can save it as, I believe, okay, this is a saved report. So we're going to call this content drill down demo. If I save that, it's going to be under my customizations here.
Where did you find the save button? Oh, there it is. Never mind.
And let me go back since we're going to work with the live report. So coming back to content drill down. So that was save, and it's just saving it to your customization section. And if you ever wanted to come back to that specific report, that's where it's going to be saved. When you come back here to your dashboard of the content drill down, sometimes your date range is moving forward as you have it set. If you have it set to today or whatever it is, that is moving along as time moves along, but your saved report will stay static. Then you can export to any of these formats. I think if you do, it's just gonna go straight to exporting it. That's in the background. Okay, and then share. You can email this to as many people as you'd like. I think you just have to separate by a comma or a semicolon. And then you get to choose the attachment file extension. And you can set them up to happen periodically. So this exact same, however you generate the first email, if you set a frequency other than once, it's going to set it up that same way each time. When we say, let's see if I can just set one up. Demo. I'm not sure where the go button is. Maybe I have to zoom out a little bit. There we go. So let's see. Oh, and then by default, it looks like it is only active for 6 months. So you can extend or shorten that. But once you answer the reCAPTCHA, then we can send. Oops, you do have to have a demo. I mean, a body and the message. And there we go. And that's nice that it gives you a little success bar. As far as the edit, you can edit what you are seeing, but it would become a custom report. So similar to how we saved this report, you can also customize reports. We aren't going to get into that really because what you can customize are the metrics here. So each one of these, the page views, the unique page views, average time on page, bounce rate, percentage of exits, those you can swap out for different metrics. I am a big believer in Google's default metrics, but I can always look into those more to see what we can really play around with there. I definitely don't know my stuff too well with the metrics and custom reports, but you can save, export, or share any of these reports. So we went over channels earlier. Source/medium is a similar one under acquisition and all traffic as well. We get to see, similar to channel is source. Or actually medium is similar to channel. We get to see that there are a couple of different organic mediums coming from Google and Yahoo. and I got a question about what we should be setting up. We should be setting up universal analytics. We aren't yet using Google Analytics 4. So that will be within the account or property setup. Just remember that we are still using the universal analytics and not yet the Google Analytics 4. So with this, the source and the medium, again, we can, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. You can swap the primary dimension, but what I wanted to do was add, again, a secondary dimension. It's going to take a minute to load. Wow, here we go. And so I can add a keyword. When it looks like that is not set. And we can always see, you know, different types of metrics. Some of these, depending on what you set, may not be the right combination, being that they do have to come from the similar scope. So there is, let's see, I do have an image on that as well. When it comes to the metrics and the dimensions, we also have to think about the scope being at either a hit level, session level, user level, or product level. So source and medium are more about the session level as well as the landing page. Or actually, sorry, it is at the user level. When it comes to the different combinations of the metrics and dimensions, again, if they aren't coming from a similar scope where it determines that level of the data's value, then you may see either zeros or you may not see the result that you're expecting. If that's the case, you just try a different dimension, either on the secondary or primary, wherever that issue came up or wherever you started to see kind of negative data. And then when it comes to the all traffic reports as well, we have the referrals. It is going to be, I guess we don't have any data, but this is just going to refer to other sites that have sent traffic to your MyLO site. And so we see the different sources here. And just like before, we can drill down or, you know, open up further that page and see what exactly the referral paths were within that source. Can go back and do the same thing. So that one didn't drill down much further, but just being able to see all of these different sources is really nice. And then again, when it comes to this type of information where the source is involved, the landing page kind of goes hand in hand. So we want to see where folks are coming from and we want to see where they're landing to. So this combination of source and landing page, or if the source were set to source/medium, landing page goes hand in hand with them. And I'm just going to extend my rows so we can see a little bit more. Yeah, so Deborah. You have a question, Deborah?
Yes, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting to unmute myself. Okay, so I have kind of just a simple question. that I think you've already answered, but okay, so when I'm looking at my reports and I'm under behavior,
Mhm.
and then I go to site content. So I can see that we have that most people are landing on our homepage. Okay.
Okay.
So that's where, so then to find out from our homepage, where are they going to after that? You know, so on our homepage, then that's where we have the menu that they can click on, you know, 14 different other pages. How do I find where they go from homepage to another page? Is that landing? Does that make sense? What I
That
just
does,
asked?
yes, it does make sense. Here we go. Next page path, I think, is what we're looking for. It just says that it is a destination page, which I saw up here as well, the definition of that. So let's try next page path. We can also add page depth because that'll let us know the number of pages they visited. Let's see about next page path as a secondary dimension. Okay, no, that doesn't give us some different data. It looks like it is just exactly the same. Let's try a different one, but maybe similar in the behavior. That is a very good question because it would be great to see.
The reason I'm asking is that because like we had, excuse me, so for our candidates forum, you know, we had the link right on our homepage that would take people, once they got to our homepage, then they just had to click to get to the YouTube or to see the YouTube video of our candidates forum. And I'm just was curious as to how would I be able to find how many people then were clicking on that?
So that I know will be within events, and we aren't going to talk about that today because it's
Okay.
pretty large. I myself, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Okay. But I see that click there under the menu. It's under that, the events.
Yeah, so you can check that out. I don't know if it's going to be set up for everybody because I do believe that you have to create events before you start getting data, but I'm not entirely sure. So
Okay. All right.
You might check that out for yourself. Events are usually scroll tracking, outbound links, downloads, copy to clipboard, mail, find in browser, print intent. There may be more, but this is at least what we're seeing on my account. But like I said, I need to look into it more. I'm not entirely sure if these come like by default with Google, which I don't think.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that back, when you were back looking at the second page, wouldn't you have to click on the home page first to drill down to see all the landing pages, second pages associated with that one? So on number one, if you click on that, that's where you would want to see the different possibilities of landing pages, right?
Oh, and then you're saying adding the secondary dimension here.
Yeah.
Yep, that is right, Liz. Thank you for that. Okay, that was right on the money. Let me go back and we'll go through that again. So to Deborah's question, to get to that second one, just as Liz said, just click on one of these. Well, sorry, I was going to click on a different one. Let's just click on a different one. And then under secondary dimension, once you've selected one of those landing pages, then under secondary dimension, there is the second page dimension. And then we get to see the first row means, you know, if their landing page was this and their second page was exactly the same, that means that they left. They just had that one page and that was it. We're probably always going to see a lot of not set, which is usually Google not being able to decipher the data or information from the user. And then we go on to see other pages that they connected to after. So that is really helpful if you're trying to get a glimpse into users' behavior and their path on your site.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Awesome. Let's see, I wonder, I guess the same thing you can do with exit pages, just as we kind of did with the landing pages and trying to see the secondary or the second page. I believe that there was one for previous page. So we could see a little bit of what they were doing right before they exited as well. And it might make sense to choose a different exit page. Choosing the home page as an exit page, that's probably not giving us too much insight, but one of these down here, let's see, folks are leaving from the League merchandise shop under LA League. So but yeah, this is just examples of what we can do to drill down our data. Let me see if I haven't gone any other reports. Oh, we haven't yet touched on the mobile reports. That is going to be, I believe, under audience and mobile. There's quite a bit under audience that we haven't really gotten into yet. We might have to save it for the next session. But the mobile one here is nice because we always want to see what devices are being used. And usually we are, oh, I'm surprised. I was going to say we usually are seeing a lot of mobile usage, but no, this is a whole lot of desktop usage. And this one's pretty self-explanatory. I guess the same thing we can do to break this down would be to see, you know, other secondary dimensions, like where exactly are these different device users landing to? We can see specifically where they exited, or, you know, the page depth that each of these devices had. Okay, so it breaks it down on the number of, you know, how deep they went, and then it divides by the device category. Let's see, under geo, you have language and location. These are going to probably be pretty straightforward, with the exception of probably some international traffic, as we were talking about. When it comes to location, you can drill down the primary dimension or change that primary dimension to city, and see something a little bit more granular and probably better suited to your actual data.
Look at Beijing.
Yeah, we've got 100 new sessions there. Or 100% of those sessions are new. And then the language, you can see all the different versions. You know, we have several different versions of English and then whatever else in between. You can filter your table, your report table, by adding in, you know, whatever you want to, whatever filter. And that just helps you clean it up for yourself, especially for if you're trying to export or you know, save, export, or share, since this filter that you've added within the search here, it will apply to the saved version as well. You can also use the advanced filters here. So it is asking you to include or exclude whatever dimension you have to choose from. We can have it match my expression. So matching reg exp just means that you are typing in exactly what you want it to search for. And if we wanted to include a different language, we could add a dimension. But I want to include English, or I don't know, I think French was another one. I've added a vertical bar in between EN and FR. The reason I did that is because the vertical bar stands as or. I want it to be an either or situation rather than an and situation. In this case, it might not make a difference. If I would have, or actually no, if I would have set the advanced filter as include English and include French, I would get no results because there is no result that has both English and French. So an either or situation has to happen there. So now my results are just showing English and French language users or sessions.
Does that refer, you know how you showed us how we can make our, translate our website for people to go, you know, if they want it in Indonesian or whatever. Is that referring to that, or is that referring to the where they're coming from, or what does that refer to?
It says that the language settings are in your user's browsers. It says that they use, that's helpful. It looks like we have a guide here on how the languages should be if you ever needed to filter out any of these languages. But yeah, it's coming from the user's browser. So however the user has whatever language they've enabled for their browser, that's where this is coming from.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily say that they're using that functionality that we may have added to translate our pages.
Right. I don't believe so. Actually, I'm not, it all depends on how the browser is handling that data. If there is a way that that browser can send data on about that current session being, you know, viewed in a different language, then there is a possibility that those sessions are being caught in here too. I'm not too familiar.
It'd be nice to know, you know, if you have that functionality in your website, whether people are actually translating to Spanish. You know, that would be the most natural one.
That you might even set up an event where the event could be that click of whatever it is you're specifying. And that could be a way of tracking that type of data.
Nice.
Yeah, again, I need to look, I need to do some more testing on the events, since it is a huge thing, but it is also super helpful when it comes to our universal analytics. But yeah, that there will be more to come on that front. Any other questions?
I have a question that isn't particularly analytics, so I'll do that last.
Okay. Go ahead, Mary Jo.
Okay, so number one, translate pages. Do I know about that? Is that something you talked about before?
There's I think it's an old Google code that's available to add to your site. And I think, Liz, does it make a bar at the top of your site?
I just have one on the left, and you do the pull down and everything gets translated into you know, there are a lot of languages. It's pretty impressive.
Well, is that something I would see just normally on a web page when I was looking on? Because I think
you have to add it. But she did a session on that.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and I can easily pull that code so that we can, you know, folks can implement it on their own site too. So this is what we're talking about. This up here was just text that she added, but this here is the, you know, widget itself that I think is just HTML code. And yeah, you can, I think.
You know, I thought that was really interesting and tried to implement, but recently I heard a discussion about how difficult a good translation is to achieve. And so I'm sort of cautious about wanting to do that, lest strange things end up being translated.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it isn't going to be, vetted by anybody. It is usually done automatically, digitally. So there is that to consider. You can always think of maybe like a, what would you call that, kind of a warning. If you did want to provide it, and you kind of could just tell people a disclaimer, tell people that, you use at your own risk type of thing. It may not be 100% clarity, but especially when folks are coming as either English is not their first language or is just not any of their languages, having that there is helpful. Yeah.
We have a lot of refugees in my town, so that would be very helpful. So you
Why
just
don't
have to add this widget to the side of our page.
Yeah, I'm gonna
You're gonna send something out about that?
I can drop the code in now. We can go over it. How did you guys want to do this?
Don't you have a video on that? I mean, you taught us that.
I do, but I don't remember when that was. It was probably an office hours session.
Yeah, it was office hours.
I can try and find it. I doubt that I will be able to. I feel like
Could you just look, could you look it later and then just put it, on the Google page or the Google thing?
Yeah, I'll put it in the Google group. We're all in the Google group, right? Everyone here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, it'd be easier.
Whether I find the video or not, I can recreate one.
Because we have an Arabic population.
Okay.
So a couple times there was a bounce rate indicator.
Mhm.
So I saw something that said 13%. So is there any way to find out, well, where was the bad link? I guess, is that what that means? Bounce rate?
The bounce rate just means that there was a single page in a session and that there was no interaction. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there was like an actual bounce.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just folks like, I got to the homepage and I'm like, okay, I'm gone.
Okay.
Or whatever page. But yeah, it's usually just a non-existent session almost, because
Okay.
they just got there and left.
And sometimes we'll be like this page you got right here.
Mhm.
How would I save that in order to print it, I guess? I mean, because
Oh,
I don't see the save icon.
It's up at the top, so you always have to scroll up and down. I'm zoomed in as well.
Okay, got it. And the last thing, so going back to the page that I said that I had in front of me, so it's telling me that there were 7,000 views, and that there were, underneath that says 3,200 were on a specific page about ballots. But then the second one is just our website. So I guess I'm a little confused. I don't think 3,200 people went directly to our ballot issue, link. So I guess I'm just a little confused.
Well, if it is page views, it is not, it's counting the total number of pages viewed. So even if somebody comes back to this page within their session like 5 times, then that's counted 5 times. So probably what you'll want to look at is the unique page views, so that you get a full sense of how many sessions were in, or how many time, or this page was involved in how many sessions. And that's what the unique page views helps you see, so that any repeated numbers are counted as 1.
So did you talk about unique views? I mean,
well, they are here. And again, the unique ones.
I see that right there. Yeah, see, I don't have that on my, what is that? That's site content, all pages. Okay. Huh.
Yeah, so by default, the report will include page views, which are, any repeat of this page being viewed are counted.
Okay.
And then the unique
that
page
makes sense.
views.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this is the number of sessions during which the specified page was viewed at least once. And that is just going to be that one and done count. If I go back and look at that page multiple times, the unique page view won't reflect that.
And it makes sense, looking at the nature of that particular thing. Okay, so looking at my thing, it looks like about 1,000 people went to our website. And those would be unique.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I
Yeah.
think thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And then even just looking at just page views and unique page views, it helps us to kind of see that you get an idea that folks are looking at pages kind of twice, like they're going back and looking at pages. So that's sometimes often nice because you know that they're going back for any number of reasons. So yeah, that's the difference between those there. Any other questions?
Well, I have mine, which
Oh
is,
yeah,
it
I
has,
think we can
it
jump to
has
this.
to do with using what, um, s- these vanity URL, web email addresses. So we use those with GoDaddy, but you can do them with other companies. If you get a email forwarded to you through the through these vanity emails, when you reply, the reply, as far as I know, is from your email, from the one that you've been, the personal one that's been that this has
That was
been
like the destination.
forwarded, the destination.
Mhm.
So when you reply, you're replying with that email, your personal one. And our people don't want, I mean, my president does not want her email address being
Out there.
associated with the response. She'd like it to look like it's coming from this vanity one. But as far as I can tell, that's not possible. And that was her argument, that we should be making these generic Gmail accounts so that you can answer it from the Gmail account, which is a generic one, rather than her personal one. Has anybody found a solution to that, or am I making any sense?
I know a little bit about that, having had the same issue with ours. And I found a workaround that Google claimed would get you around that. And I didn't understand it at the time, but out there is a Google instruction for it. But if somebody has our Google email address, which is the vanity email address, it's league@lwvwashington. When they're sending a reply, they can choose what email they want it to come from. So they could choose the league account rather than their personal account, if they're savvy enough to set the league up account as one they monitor, and they have to be given the password to do that.
So it has to, yeah, but that's a Google account, a Gmail account, right? It,
Yeah, it's a Gmail account, but it doesn't say Gmail because nowhere is Gmail in the address.
And that's
Our
because
address
you've connected your domain, right, to the.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could do that too. If you connect your domain to, let's say, I think, is it Google Suite that you use, Susan?
Yeah, only now it's called Workspace.
Okay, that's right. So yeah, I think that is probably the way that Google offers to have your domain as the email. You would have to use their Workspace product. I think that it is a paid service.
It's a paid service. It's not too huge.
Okay. Yeah, so that's an option. I also wonder if, is there an option for creating a brand new Google account with those alias emails? I'm thinking that you probably can't. If you use your current email address and you try to create a Google account, I wonder if that would allow you with the alias emails you have, Liz.
well, I tried to put an alias in, and it said, when you make an account, at least with Mac Mail, when you make an account, you have to have a real server and everything associated with it.
Yeah,
right?
it'll probably give us the same. Yeah, you'll need to confirm that this email belongs to you. It probably will give us the same thing there.
Yeah, the aliases are just a pass-through. They don't exist. There's never a mailbox. They're not recognized as real.
Yeah,
Right.
so I'm not sure, unless GoDaddy has an interface, I don't think that there's something built in for the desired response method. It
Well-
does, yeah, go ahead, Liz.
Well, I think, I mean, what we've decided to do, but we haven't implemented, is to have GoDaddy forward to an actual Gmail account, but the Gmail account will be something sort of generic. So we're having two layers of things that are sort of, one is a vanity and one's a generic, like treasurer at treasurer Wheaton LWV at gmail.com. So it's generic, and the person who's the treasurer has to add that account to her email, or, log on anyway, the equivalent of logging on to that account to answer the query from somebody outside. So it doesn't show her personal one, it'll use
Yeah.
this Gmail account.
Yeah, and then
And-
that gives you the flexibility to move forward to when you have turnover to then
Yeah.
have
they
it
just-
forward to the next person.
Yes, yes.
I've also heard of Google Groups being used as a way to kind of have an inbox that is accessible to all, like all your leaders. And then you can, I think, either set up filters, or there's some way to set up specific communications to go to one person. If you're interested in that, I can look it up. I'm pretty sure that this was something we were recommending to folks when we started MyLO, who were looking for some really low cost ways to manage their email. So I can
Okay.
take a look if we still have information about that.
Well, the advantage of the things like GoDaddy and the equivalent are that you can forward the email to multiple people.
Let's set it up
Yeah.
that way.
Right. And that's
Nice.
what you want to do in some cases.
That's why we got into Workspace, because we needed to do that for our PayPal account.
Well, I'll look at Workspace, Susan. Thank you.
But it's not totally cheap, so you do have to pay something.
Nothing.
Anne Maurice, my
Mhm.
problem with that calendar page that someone couldn't get at, it seems to be a Safari problem, but we
Ah.
haven't nailed it down for sure yet.
Did anybody respond to the CAPTCHA?
Well, when she does the CAPTCHA, she ends up right with that message that I
Okay.
shared with. So it's circular, I guess. And it's not always the case. She can look at every other page in our website. It's just the new one. So there's something about the new one that's causing grief. We're not done with this little project.
I can take a look at that. Yeah, we'll continue that offline. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Jennifer, I see you have a question.
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
We have a league Gmail account. It's forwarded through info@lwvddh.org, which is our provider. And any of the officers, current officers, have access to that account. But I've been monitoring it, and if something comes through for someone specific, like during the election, then I give it to the voter services chair. But a number of people do access it.
By accessing, you mean they log on to
They
the,
log on.
yeah.
I mean, all the officers do. Well, maybe not the secretary, but the officers do. Treasurer does. I mean, it's there's a level of trust that none of the officers are going to crash the site, but it seems to work out quite well.
There's some things in the chat that might be relevant.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if it's the domain people who do it for us, and Jennifer will probably know, but usually when there is a message that goes to the email that Jennifer was just talking about, that I also check sometimes, but usually they will come to my personal email. So somehow I set it up, or somebody set it up for me that way.
Yeah, I think it's coming from info. I think
Yeah,
it's
I don't
coming
know.
from info at.
Yeah. But somebody must have set that up with the domain people. But so that means, what I'm saying is, I typically don't have to go into the Google account, but I try to, just to make sure.
Yeah, usually it seems like the not issue, but it seems like the desire to, or the need to sign in comes when you need to respond, is what I'm hearing from most folks. If you are
Yes.
trying to keep your personal email hidden, then yeah, it seems like you would need to sign in to then send that message.
That's true.
There's also issues, as Maddie points out, with two-factor sign-on and things like that. It's becoming more and more of an issue when you're.
Yeah.
Well, we opted out on Google.
That's the
on our
good thing. You
Gmail
still
account.
have that ability to opt
You can
out.
still
Yeah.
opt out. We were migrated over and within 10 minutes, I opted out as soon as I received the notification.
Yeah, that, especially when when it's 3 or more people, that's already a hassle, like trying to get in contact with each other to get a code within 10 minutes because it usually expires. So yeah, that's nice that it gives you that option to turn it off.
Well, I heard a presentation on digital assets. It was meant for older people who are trying to put their life in order. And this lawyer was saying that it's really illegal to be signing on to the same, multiple people signing on with the same account and password. And that blew my mind. I still can't believe it, but
It can't be.
Yeah, I'm
only
surprised. I'm
people.
surprised that he would use the term illegal, but I know it's definitely not recommended, not best practices. But it's cheap.
well, this it's cheap, yeah. But this also had to do with like when somebody dies, the next
Yeah.
person who's taking care of their affairs. She was saying it was illegal for that person to be signing on to like their bank account.
Oh, I see. Well, that makes sense when it is personal information within those accounts that you're sharing. That I could see where it could get a little sticky in legal terms, but yeah, if you're kind of working in a quote unquote business account where it's technically not the official Google Workspace business account, I don't see issues there. But I wanted to get to Jan's question if you still have it. I saw that you had your hand up earlier.
Sorry, I was searching for, Liz, I do have a way of doing it. I've done it on my own email where I can use the drop down and redirect, but it was really complicated and I don't recommend it for everybody, but I will send you the directions. I think I documented it somewhere, and if I can find it, I did it a couple years ago, but I can go into my own personal account and use a drop down and say, no, I want to say it's coming from, and it'll be my alias.
And is it a complicated setup, but then going forward, it's pretty easy to use? Okay.
Right.
Do you
it's
use-
set up,
do
you
you-
don't have to.
Nice.
Do you use a PC or a Mac, Jan?
PC.
Oh, good. Well, are you going to post it on the Google group?
If I can find it, I did.
Oh, well, thank you.
There's
I
a
would.
way to do it.
That would be great because that would save making all these other Gmail accounts.
But don't expect, I mean, I think you could do it, but I don't think most people would want to go through it.
Well, my president might not mind. She's the only one who's really upset about this.
Okay,
That might be the motivating factor.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for that, Jan. That was definitely worth it, and I hope it'll be found and well appreciated. So yeah, folks, I think we're going to come to the end of this session. We didn't get to dive into audience reports too much, but I will save that for the next one. I feel like we talked about the most important ones already. So the audience reports, we'll kind of touch on those. We did a little bit today, but we're going to talk about events and goals for the next time. That will probably involve Google Tag Manager But I will wrap my head around all that stuff so that it'll help y'all.
I hope it doesn't all change when they go to the next version.
I hope not. When it comes to Google Tag Manager, I think that is untouched. So I'll try and look into that too to see if that is the case. Mary Jo.
I was just gonna say, if you're the people that already have the analytics, when the new one comes out of the 4, so is my person going to have to like start from the beginning, or will they transfer it over?
It unfortunately won't transfer over when the
Okay.
Universal Analytics data stops processing on July 1st.
Okay.
There's going to be no more data there, but we should
Okay.
already have our new setup get ready to
Okay.
go, so
Okay.
that there's going to be some overlap of data collection.
But she will have to create a new account.
Not a new account. You can
Oh.
create a new property. So yeah, let's take a look
Oh.
at that.
Well, okay. I didn't mean to add.
No worries. It is
But you did
literally.
say you'd be telling us later.
Let's see, it might actually be just that. Yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. But yeah, we'll go over that.
Oh, there. Oh, okay. Oh, they already
as
have
time
some
permits.
stuff there. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I think I'm not able to do it because I don't admin that account. There we go. So you would just create a new property, and then that's it. Create a Google property.
But that's not till July. I mean, the end. But so
Before.
you'll be talking about that more. So
Yeah.
okay, thanks.
Mhm.